Hi, it's Bighara here with another installment of my video blog. Today I was going to do something a little bit different. I was going to talk a little bit about a module, but not as a review. This is The Keep on the Borderlands by Gary Gygax, one of the all-time classic modules of the heyday of TSR. And the reason I'm talking about it today is sort of twofold. One, I want to talk a little bit about it as an example of a sandbox. And two, I was talking about it because I'm going to try running it for a couple of my friends who are part of my group and part of the Faster Monkey games. This is an effort to do something a little different for us. We spend a lot of time working on our products, and part of that involves playtesting, which sounds like a lot of fun, and it can be because you are really basically just playing the game. But it also involves playing it in a slightly different way, where you have to pay a lot of attention to not only what you've written and whether it works or not, but whether it's balanced for the power levels of the characters, or whether things seem to be come across the way you intended it when you wrote it, whether if you're the writer. And also you're balancing what people who may have been helping you with the module may already know and things like that. This is a chance to play something, admittedly not a new module, but something that the people who are going to be playing with me haven't really played through normally. We fiddled around with elements from the Keep on a time to time, and this will be a chance to run it with my own take on a few things, trying to prevent spoilers and stuff like that, changing a few things around that people may have encountered before, but also as the whole module, not just, oh, let's use these caves from the Keep, or let's use this part of the Keep as sort of a basis for some homebrew thing we're doing, and a chance to just play, not play test, but just play. Anyway, let me just give you a quick background for those of you who aren't really that familiar with it, though most people who are up on D&D and old school D&D in particular are pretty familiar with the Keep. Keep in the Borderlands was written by Gary Gygax back in the late 70s. My copy is 1980, and as near as I can tell, it's a first printing. But any case, 1979, 1980, thereabouts. It is, like I say, it is very much a sandbox adventure. It's an introductory adventure, and it's also for low-level characters. The idea is we're going to be running a Labyrinth Lord game, and I'm going to be starting them out at first level. It is, when I say a sandbox, what I mean is there's really no overarching plot. There's no one storyline you're following. It is very much, they kind of pick and choose. Do you go this way? Do you go that way? Do you go off to see these caves, or do you stay in the Keep and talk to these people? It's very interesting because it's been set very generically. It's not specifically for setting like Mystara or Greyhawk or Forgotten Realms or any of the classic TSR settings, but can really be dropped anywhere. Interesting thing about it is that the NPCs don't have names. There's the scribe, there's the tavern keeper, there's the bailiff, there's a corporal of the watch, and so forth. But they don't have any names. They're all very generic. The names of businesses don't actually have names. It's tavern. It's not the Colored Animal Inn or whatever you want. But even with that, there's still a lot of interesting little things in there, little hooks that different NPCs have and stuff that allow you to build on if you want. And then, of course, there's the dungeon portion of it, which involves going out and a lot of fairly small but straightforward crawls involving various types of humanoids. You've got your orcs, you've got your goblins, and so forth and so on. It's one of my favorite modules, and I'm not a huge expert on the classic TSR modules. I never ran them that much back in the day because I was more of a player than a DM when I was younger. But also, we didn't do a lot of modules. We did a few. We did Tomb of Horrors. We did Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. We did some of the Giant series, things like that. But most of what we played were homebrews and in a homebrew world. So it was a little bit different for us. Sorry, I keep rubbing my eye. I've got dust from cleaning stuff up. Anyway, So I really enjoy this module. Came to it kind of late and read up on it and thought it was really cool. Um, it's like I say, the sandbox aspect makes it very easy to customize, makes it very easy for players to kind of go where they want to go. There have been complaints by some people, or I don't know if they're necessarily complaining, but observations that it's a little bit of a meat grinder. It can be very deadly for low level characters, especially in classic Dungeons and Dragons and things like that, where characters aren't all that strong out of the gate. But there are ways to work around that, and I think it ties into some of the old school sensibilities about the shifting model for adventures, where straight up combat wasn't necessarily the best way to go in every case, and dealing with things like some of the mechanics of the old school games, like morale and reaction checks and things like that, where it wasn't every encounter didn't necessarily lead to a fight. All that said and done, it can be a very dangerous module for low level characters. So I'm going to be curious to see how it goes. My hope is to give them a chance to build up some experience, and as they get up in levels, maybe run a couple other modules for them that are for more than first and second level characters. If you have not read The Keep on the Borderlands, it's definitely worth checking out and reading up on. It was probably the single most printed and sold module of all time. Any version of D&D ever. It must have gone through something. I look on the SCM sometime, and I didn't check it before I started recording, but I think it's something ridiculous, like 8 printings, and not printing very small runs either. So it's probably the single most popular module in terms of copies sold of all time. And if by some chance you've never played it, you've never read it, check it out, because it's really like a miniature campaign setting. You can really set it in there, and you can spend a lot of time there. And like I say, characters can actually go up a couple levels just by continuing to adventure in and around and near the keep. I'm going to be setting it in Karameikos, the Grand Duchy of Karameikos, which I mentioned in an earlier blog about traditional fantasy settings. I'm going to be setting it as the Castellian Keep, which is what I usually do. It works for me, and I figure it ain't broke. I'm not going to fix it. And, I'm not going to turn this into a campaign log, but I just thought I'd mention that's where we're going to be going. Hopefully going to be starting play tomorrow. And we'll see what happens. It'll be kind of interesting. I'm also going to do something a little different here. I'm going to be running the Labyrinth Lord rules, but I'm going to be incorporating the character creation options from the Advanced Edition Companion, which gives you a little bit more of a first edition style of character. You can separate race and class if you want. You have things like Illusionist and Druid and stuff like that as options as well. Including things like half-orcs and gnomes for some of the race options. So this will be kind of fun. And like I say, it's a chance to mix it up. It's a chance not to be worrying about just play testing for a product, but just to play the game and kind of have fun with it. So I'm kind of pumped. I've been reading over the module. I've been reading over some of the Karameikos stuff. So getting kind of brushed up on this stuff, getting ready to go. And we'll see what happens. And, after we get a chance to get a session, maybe 2 under our belts, I'll report back. This will be something that we'll probably try to play when we're not doing play tests as those come up. But for the moment, not to give any Faster Monkey spoilers away, we've just finished a play test, and we've got a couple of products in the pipeline. So we're actually, for the next few months, good to go without doing another play test. So, at least for the next few weeks, we probably won't need to take a break. So I'm hoping to get a few sessions of this campaign under our belts before we have to take a break. Anyway, that's all I got to say for now. Take it easy. Bye.